Hello everyone, this is Colin here with another homeowner's DIY video. Today we're going to be changing the water filters in an undersink RO. Specifically this one here, that's kind of in a nice congested area. And to do this job you're going to need a few things. You will need a set of replacement filters, that's what these three are. This is a sediment, this is your carbon, and this is your second carbon filter. These usually come as a set. You can order them off Amazon. They're pretty standard. You don't really need to buy a particular brand. You can kind of look at Amazon and see what's cheapest at the moment, and you'll get a decent outcome. And you also need your filter wrench. Okay, the first thing we're going to do to change these filters, besides clean all the crap out of here that I have stored, or at least enough to get underneath, is to turn off the valve to the tank. So you will almost certainly have a pressure tank, and it'll have a valve on top of it. That'll be that blue guy right there. So before we do anything else, we want to close that valve. Next, we're going to shut off the water from the tap to the filters. On mine, that's this guy right here. That's a little brass valve. And we want that close so we don't have water pouring out when we open up our filters. Next, we want to depressurize the system. So we're going to take our sink tap here and open it up. As you can see, it depressurizes pretty quickly, but we're going to leave that open for now. Now we're going to start swapping out filters. We're going to put some paper towels under here because no matter how well you drain things out, you're always going to get water, and you don't want to get your cabinetry all wet here. So we're going to get that, put that down there, and then we're going to start removing these filters, starting with the one on the outside because it's the easiest to access. So you just take your filter wrench, you slide it up along the bottom here, and then you loosen these up. As usual, it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And you don't need it the whole way. Once you've broken it free, you can kind of set the wrench aside and then just unscrew it by hand. As you remove the filters, go ahead and place them on a counter or nearby surface in the order that they came out in. Some of them may have a label. For example, this one tells you, filter number 1, sediment filter, etc. But others may not have that. So just make sure when you're taking these out, you line them up so that Okay, now that you've got your old filters out, you can make sure you've got your replacements in the right order. And you're going to dump out the water and throw out the old cartridges. You may find, in fact I usually find, there's a fair amount of carbon in that third filter. These are backwards here. And so you're going to want to do more than just rinse it out. You want to get some paper towels and clean that one out. The middle one's usually pretty good. It's just clean water in there. If you go too long, you sometimes can get some stuff in this first sediment filter. Okay, now that we've got our filter housings cleaned out and our new filters dropped in, let's go ahead and get them installed. Installation is going to go in the reverse order of removal. So the inside filter, which is this one here, is going to have to go in first, followed by the middle filter, followed by the last filter. Otherwise, you won't be able to. On the reinstallation, I prefer not to use the filter wrench, just because it tends to get tighter the longer it sits. So I usually just tighten them by hand and just make sure that I've got them tight enough not to leak. Okay, the last part to change here is the post-RO membrane filter. This is your post-carbon, puts in the minerals afterwards. This is actually probably the most difficult part of the job. So your new filter will have probably little rubber plugs in the ends that you'll have to remove. And they'll be on both sides. And also keep in mind this one is also directional and should have flow stamped on it. So the post-carbon filter is this little guy on top here. That's the actual RO membrane. These are usually kind of just snapped in here on a hanger of some kind, and then have a bunch of hoses coming out of them. So these fittings will have to be unthreaded because, as you see with this one, there's actually two on one side and one on the other, which is pretty typical. And so you're going to have to take these fittings off, and they're pretty straightforward. You take that little blue lock if you have it off, you depress the little white collar here, the ferrule, with a finger, and then you pull on the hose to remove it. So you have to do that for both of those on this side and the one on the other side before this fitting can be unthreaded and put on the new filter. Now that we've got our old filter out, we can go ahead and swap the fittings from the new filter to the old filter. So as with before, this is the direction of flow. You see flow here, flow there. Make sure we got it going the right way. We simply match the fittings to the appropriate side. And these are pretty straightforward. They're threaded on one side for me, and there are the quick connects on the other. These ones have Teflon tape on them, I think, so if your Teflon tape's getting a little ratty, you might want to replace that, but this one looks pretty good, so we're gonna try to reuse him as is and see if he doesn't leak. Okay, now let's go and put it back in. Okay, the next step is to purge the air out of your filters. The water that's going to come out initially is likely to have some carbon in it, so you don't want to use it for drinking. You're better off using it for like watering some plants or something, hence the watering can there. So you also don't want to hammer the system, so with that valve still open, as it is, you want to gradually crack open the sink valve. Remember, you want to leave the tank closed still at this point because you don't want that carbon in the tank either. But kind of gradually crack this one open. This is your supply valve. And look for leaks. And let all that air purge out. Let me grab a paper towel here and dry up the drips so that you can tell the difference between a leak and the spills from actually changing out the filters. Looks like we're pretty good in the leak department. Up top here, you'll start to get some water out as we push the air out. And once we get all the air out, which will get obvious because the stream will get a lot stronger, you'll stop hearing bubbling and hissing down below. You want to put a couple gallons to the filters first. Again, just use it to water some plants before using it for drinking water. All right, now that we've got all the water purged out and should be good to go, the last thing to do is to reopen that tank valve that you closed earlier. So reopen that. And now you're good to go for another 6 months. Thanks for watching.